laws of theft and lost objects. Chapter 10. The following law applies when a powerful and violent Gentile, non-Jew, took over property belonging to a Jew by force. Happened often in common occurrence for the last 2,000 years. Seizing his field because the owner owed him a debt, right? Well, I mean, this is not speaking about history. This is now speaking about the law, right? This is the law. Like, maybe he did, So that's it speaking of that, and the fact that he did owe him a debt, causing him damages or caused him financial loss because he seized, right? If after taking possession of the field, the Gentile, the non-Jew, sold it to another Jew, the owner cannot expropriate it from the purchaser. Why? How come?
Well, I guess the new owner is not responsible for what happened between the other parties, previous parties.
Right, he's not responsible for that, but the key is over here. There was a debt, right? It's not an alleged debt. We're talking a law, right? So it's not an alleged debt. There is a debt here. So the debt was an equivalent or exceeds the value of the field. That's important. Got that? In other words, if the field was worth triple the debt, so then no, this law wouldn't apply. But if the field was the value of the debt, or the debt was even more than the field, right? So then this law would apply because it is owed to him.
Okay.
The fact that he seized it in such a way is not a nice thing. It's not appropriate. A Jew's not allowed to do that. Right? But that's not the point over here. The question is that the non-Jew then sold it. That's the key over here to a Jew who follows Jewish law. What are you going to do? Right? So the non-Jew didn't follow appropriate channels of non-Jewish law, which is go to court. Right? But the sale is still a sale. Now, today this wouldn't fly because we have deeds of sale. But if he forced, like today would be, he would force him to sell it to him, right? To sign over the deed of sale, right? Even though he was forced, it's still okay. When does the above apply? When the owner admits that the non-Jew, the Gentile who sold the property, told the truth, or when two Jewish witnesses substantiate the truth of the Gentile's claim. So it's true. Again, the non-Jew didn't do right, but it is the truth. And the point of it is, the sale is the sale is sale. Similarly, if there was a king or a ruler in that locale who could summon the non-Jew, the Gentile, to court, and the owner did not lodge a claim against him, he cannot expropriate the property from the person who purchased it from the Gentile. Right? He didn't lodge a claim. So you can't now expropriate it from the Jew because he bought it from the non-Jew. This applies even if the owner does not admit the truth of the Gentile's claim. And even though there is no witnesses that the Gentile told the truth, for the purchaser can tell the owner, the Gentile is a robber, why did you not sue him according to the laws of the land? Right? You should have gone to a non-Jewish court and sued him. Why did you do that? Why are you coming after me? Oh, because it might be easier to come after me, right? Right. But that's not a claim.
Rabbi?
Yes.
I'm sorry, but we can't see the Rambam on the screen.
Oh. Oh, did I not share?
You can make a huge difference. Our annual matching camp.
There's a good reason why you can't see it on the screen. Because I didn't share it. Sharing is caring. And I didn't share.
You die or give me your field.
Okay, thank you.
Thank
Next,
you.
tell me a little earlier.
It was so good, I didn't want to interrupt.
No, not a problem. Thank you for interrupting. Okay. Similar. Okay, so we just said about a king or ruler, right? So yeah, okay, we finished 2. Now we're in 3. Following laws apply with regard to Gentiles, non-Jews who oppress the Jewish people and seek to kill them, unless they ransom themselves from the Gentiles by ceding title to the field or a home and giving it to the Gentiles in return for their release. Something that was done very often up the last 2,000 years. It sounds so foreign to us, right? Today. But when the oppressor desires to sell the land, then the owner has the means to purchase the property, he is given priority over all others. If the owner does not have the means to purchase the property, or the property has remained in the possession of the oppressor for more than 12 months, whoever comes first and purchases property from the oppressor acquires it. The purchaser must, however, give the original owner a fourth of the land or a third of the funds. For the oppressor sells land cheaply, since the land is not his. He will sell it approximately a fourth less in its value. So since he didn't pay the full thing, right? Now we can't make this person pay the whole thing too. This portion belongs to the original owner because the reason it was sold cheaply was that it belongs to him. So therefore, he has to pay him a fourth of the land. Therefore, a person who acquires it from an oppressor for 30 zuz must pay 10 to the original owner or give him a fourth of the land. Right, we said a third, so a third of 30 is 10. That's in money. Or give him a fourth of the land. If this is done, the purchaser acquires full title of the land. If he fails to do this, a quarter of the land is considered property obtained by robbery. So that then the Jew who bought from this oppressor, right? So remember what happened over here. The original owner gets first rights to purchase
You press stop.
from the oppressed guy is the one who has it, yes, the oppressor. And if he doesn't have the means, or 12 months have passed, then anybody can buy it. But whoever buys it, since it's a fire sale, right? It's a fire sale. Meaning it's sold cheaply. So that difference, which is approximated as a third in money, a quarter in the land, has to be given to the original owner. Otherwise, if the Jew doesn't do it, he is a robber. Wow. Fascinating.
The original owner is the owner is attached to the force to sell the land to the oppressor.
Yeah.
The oppressor sold it to a Gentile.
He sold it to a Jew.
And the Jew has to give 1/4.
Yeah. The following rules apply if a squatter enters a field belonging to a colleague without permission and plants trees there. If the field was one appropriate for trees to be planted, we evaluate how much the person would be willing to pay for trees to be planted in this field. And he collects this amount from the owner of the field. Right? So a guy plants in your backyard, if you don't want trees, right? So you don't have to pay him anything. But if you're happy, in other words, you have a benefit. So evaluate how much you'd be willing to pay for those trees. And he collects that. If this field is not suitable for planting, the squatter's improvement of the field should be evaluated and he is judged at a disadvantage. So then if he If it's not suitable, so then why would there be an improvement? I'm not clear on that. So means if the value is the increase, if there's an increase of property value, maybe it's not suitable, but it still brings an increase. That's what it means. So if the increase is greater than the squatter, the expense of the squatter, so the owner is required to reimburse only for the expenses. But if the expenses they undertook is greater than the increase, he only receives the value of the increase, right? Right, because so he's at the disadvantage, the squatter.
He should not have been there in the first place.
All right.
Possession of 9/10 of land. Of the lot. You could squat, basically.
Moreover, if the owner of the field tells the squatter, uproot your trees and go, the owner's wishes are heeded. The squatter says, I want to uproot my trees. His wishes are not heeded because uprooting trees weakens the fertility of the land. Right? He's at a disadvantage, right? Now he'll get paid for either its expenses or if his expenses exceed the increase of values, and he'll get only the increase in value, right? Because the owner is obviously satisfied. He doesn't want it to be uprooted. So he's satisfied. So therefore, he needs to pay him. Otherwise, he's a robber. Court, even though when I think about it, it's pretty crazy. What a novel idea over here. Yeah, you came into my property. I didn't ask you. So why should I have to pay you anything? No, you have to pay you.
So
Again, if you don't want it, so you tell them to uproot it.
I'm not sure about this. If the land is 10% more valuable, does the squatter get 10%?
Yes.
Thank you.
Unless the expenses were only 5%, then he'd get only the expensive 5%. Okay?
Yeah.
He gets the lesser. Number 6, courtyards are considered to be appropriate for construction and to add homes and lofts. Therefore, the Goinim ruled that a squatter who builds in a colleague's courtyard without his consent is regarded like a person who plants trees in a field appropriate for planting. If the building is useful and is appropriate for that courtyard, according to local custom, we evaluate how much the person would give to have such a building constructed and require the owner to pay the sum to the squatter. This is a great way to, to have zero unemployment, You're unemployed, so go into someone's place, go build there, right? And, as long as it's suitable for building, right?
If he wants, he gets money.
Right. Now, you may not make, man, you might only make your expenses though, right?
That's the value.
Therefore, you're not going to earn money. You're not going to earn money. You're just going to cover your expenses, right? But at least you're working.
He squats.
No. Number 7. When a person enters a colleague's field with the latter's permission, okay, now it's with permission. His improvement of the field should be evaluated and should be given the advantage in evaluating the amount of money due him. So he's been given permission, right, to come. Now, he wasn't hired. It's very important. He wasn't hired for this job. I mean, he's hired, then, whatever the agreement is what you got to pay. But he has permission to be there. Right. So he gets the advantage in the evaluation. right? This applies even if he planted trees in the field that was unfit for planting. If the expenses exceed the field's increase in value, he is reimbursed for his expenses,
Okay.
which is more than the value because he had. I don't understand why. If the field's increase in value exceeds his expenses, reimburse the field's increase in value. Yeah, but why? He wasn't hired to do this, so he has permission to be there. It doesn't mean he didn't ask you to do this.
You got the same thing with this water. No?
So yeah, commentary explains over here, yeah, that he's consenting to the work. Yeah, so what's happening over here is that he's
He's asking the bank.
Yeah, yeah. But the question over here is why? He says they entered. It's not just he has permission to enter; he has permission to do work.
In the end, he gets the same thing.
No,
No?
no. He gets the higher one. He gets the higher one, whichever it is. Right. A husband who tills property belonging to his wife, and a partner who tills a field in which one owns a share are considered to have been given permission to enter the land and to do this, right? The improvement of the field should be evaluated, and they should be given the advantage in evaluating the amount of money due them. Number 8, when a squatter enters a field belonging to a colleague without permission, okay, and plants trees or builds there, and the owner of the field comes afterwards and completes the building or guards the trees planted or performs any other activity that indicates that he's pleased with the squatter's activity and considers it desirable, right? So here he's doing something to show that the squatter's improvement of the field should be evaluated, and he should be given the advantage in evaluating the amount of money due him. Remember that there isn't an agreement between them, because if there was an agreement, then you go with the agreement, right? When a squatter enters a ruined building belonging to a colleague and rebuilds it without permission, the improvement he has brought about should be evaluated, and he's judged at a disadvantage. You might say it's a ruined building, right? So I really did something positive here. I should get more, right? I shouldn't be at the disadvantage, get the lower rate. No, it was still without permission. If the owner of the building says, I'm taking my stones and wood, his words are heeded with regard to a house, but this principle is not applied with regard to a field. For building and destroying a structure in a field weakens the fertility of the land. The owner of the land tells him, remove what you built. His words are heeded because he didn't ask him to do this. Number 10, whenever the improvements a person brought about are evaluated, whether he is judged at the advantage or disadvantage, he is not entitled to collect any money unless he first takes an oath while holding a sacred object with regard to the amount of its expenses, right? Today, you would have to bring your expense sheet with, the receipts. If he says, let the judge come and evaluate the expenses, whatever I spent is in the open, let them evaluate the worth of the wood, the stones, the mortar, and the wages of the workers according to the lowest standards. His request is accepted, and he's entitled to collect his due without taking an oath. People don't want to take an oath. So he says, it's using God's name. It's a serious thing. So he says, okay, you evaluate then. Don't take my word. You evaluate. I don't want to do that. Similarly, if a person collects only the value of the improvement of the property, and he is judged at an advantage, he's not required to take an oath when they come to make that judgment, right? Number 11, the following rule applies. Whenever the improvements a person made are to be evaluated, and he's entitled to collect money, and the owner of the field claims that he paid him. And the person who tilled the field claims that he did not receive anything. The claim of the person who tilled the field is accepted. he must take an oath that he did not receive anything, and he's entitled to collect his due. But we tell the owner of the field, an evaluation of what he is due was not made yet. Thus, you do not know how much you are obligated to give. How could you have paid him? Right? There wasn't an evaluation made. So therefore, we don't trust that he's saying the truth, the owner, that he already paid him. A different rule applies, however, if the evaluation was already made and the owner of the field was told to pay a specific amount to the person who tilled it. If the owner of the field claims that he paid him another person, although the person who tilled the field has not taken the oath yet, the claim of the owner is accepted. The owner must take a rabbinic oath that he paid, and then he is freed of liability. The rationale is the land is always considered to be the domain of its rightful owner. Right? In other words, huh?
Why?
No, that's not what it's saying. No, it didn't say that at all.
Saying he didn't pay, it says it.
Well, there it didn't say who lied. It's talking about a process in law. We have to take away our judgments over here, okay?
It's not, the owner must take a rabbinical oath, but he didn't pay.
Well, no, there's a claim. That's what the worker says. He says he did pay.
Okay.
So you're going to believe.
Right?
And not who you're going to believe. I'm sorry. That's a mistake. That's a mistake, what I just said. Who are you going to believe? No. What's the process from here? Who's going to take the oath? Right? So it's either the owner or the worker. So Rambam says it's the owner. Why? Because the land is always considered to be his domain of its rightful owner. In other words, let me just see. If it's my land and I said I paid you, right?
Mhm.
You want to extract money from me.
Yeah.
Right? So you have the burden of proof is on you that I didn't pay you.
Mhm.
Right? That's the point over here.
We're talking about the law, okay.
We're talking about law. Don't get
Gotcha.
we have to forget about our
Moral.
Mishigas.
Yeah, I got you.
Forget about our Mishigas.
I learned that now.
And if you read the words are saying it. You're projecting.
Notice that. Now that you put it that way.
Okay, last halacha. We finished the chapter. We haven't done that for a while. Following laws apply when a husband brings sharecroppers to till property belonging to his wife, and then he divorces her. Right? So if the husband is himself a sharecropper, the involvement is also terminated when the husband's involvement with the land is terminated. Right? Because he's divorced. It's her property. And after the divorce, the property goes back to her. Right? In the marriage, he has rights to the property, but it belongs to her. Right? But now his involvement is also terminated, right? For they agreed to work the field on the husband's invitation. So not just it's terminated him, but the other sharecroppers that came to work, right, are there also terminated because they came because of the husband, right? Their improvement of the field should be evaluated, and they are judged at a disadvantage. Why a disadvantage?
You shouldn't have divorced her.
No, again, you're
I know.
you're giving a judgment.
No,
Oh my
no,
gosh.
no.
Let's stick to the facts of the case.
Yeah.
That's it.
You're gonna have to get whipped.
Okay, okay, I know the difference. I shouldn't talk off the top of my head.
So I'm not clear Why?
The disadvantage.
Why? Yeah. Well, why the disadvantage? Okay, if the husband is not a sharecropper and they agreed to work the field because it was necessary, right? They receive the share that is usually given to a sharecropper. Sharecropper means that you share in the crop, meaning the produce that you're going to bring to market. So, back then it would be 20, 30%, it could be higher even, so that the worker is going to get from the sale of the produce a certain percentage. So they're sharing in the crop. That's a sharecropper, right? A percentage. They're not getting paid an hourly rate. If they're getting paid an hourly rate, finished, right? Okay. Shkoyach.
Thanks for listening.
All right, folks.
Thank you.
Sei mir gesund.